November 29, 2010. While some people were out watching Jackass 3D and maybe trimming their emo fringe to transition into hipsters who dance, shuffle, others were witnessing, without even knowing it, a full-blown sports massacre disguised as a football match. This wasn't just another El Clásico. This was a ritual sacrifice, with Real Madrid led to the altar of the Camp Nou and publicly humiliated. What started off like any other Monday night match quickly became the worst collective trauma Madridistas have experienced in the 21st century. And yeah, not even the most delusional optimists saw this coming.
Un pronóstico. ¿Te atreves?
2-1. Yo creo un 3-1.
It all began with a backdrop of tension and sky-high expectations. Florentino Perez had returned to Real Madrid with the same old speech: greatness and more greatness. And to back it up, he brought in the man of the moment, José Mourinho, the same Mourinho who had just knocked Barça out of the Champions League semis with Inter de Milan, the same Mourinho who ran across the Camp Nou happier than that guy on Murray who backflipped after finding out he wasn't the father. For many, Mourinho was the chosen one, the man who was finally going to end Barcelona's reign and restore Madrid to its rightful throne. Cristiano Ronaldo, for his part, had already stood up in full commander mode, top scorer in the league, playing like he had the Ballon d'Or locked in. Backing him up, Di Maria, Ozil, Khedira, Carvalho, and Benzema stepping in for the injured Higuaín. Now, obviously, if Higuaín had been fit, the outcome would have been a completely different result.
Higuaín. La deja para el Pocho, vamos Argentina, centro está. Higuaín, me voy a volver loco, pipa, no.
Madrid's lineup was packed with names, but across the pitch, this wasn't just a list of names. Barcelona were something else entirely. This wasn't just 11 players. It was one-in-a-lifetime generation coached by Pep Guardiola. Xavi and Iniesta didn't pass the ball. They remote controlled it. Messi, straight up from another planet. And Busquets, yes, the guy who looks like the least exciting player on FIFA, was quietly keeping everything in order like a midfield librarian. Barca were hungry. They'd already done the sextuple. They'd already dropped a 2-6 bomb at the Bernabeu, but they still wanted more. And this Clásico? This one felt like a Champions League final, even though it was November, even though it was just a match day 13, because whoever won that night would walk away with the moral crown of world football. As the players came out of the tunnel, we got the usual warm hugs and friendly handshakes, the kind of vibes that made you think it'd be a peaceful, respectful night of football. From the very first minute, you could tell Barca hadn't come to compete, they'd come to educate. And just 5 minutes in, Messi tried a cheeky little chip that smacked the post. And this wasn't just a shot, it was a spoiler alert, a soft whisper to Madrid. This is only the beginning. Seconds later, Mourinho knew he had a problem on his hands, so naturally he pulled out the sacred notebook and began to scribble out what he believed was the ultimate counter-Messi strategy. Unfortunately for him, he didn't account for Xavi pulling off the Anthony spin, and just like that, in the 9th minute, the move that led to the first goal was born. He controls the ball and gently caresses it into the net like he's tucking it into bed. Casillas just stood there watching it as it rolled past him. 1-0, and that was just the warm-up. Madrid tried to react. Di Maria had a crack at Valdés. Benzema had a couple flashes, but the game firmly in Barca's hands. Minute 17, another long build-up. The kind of move drawn with rulers, compasses, and surgical patience. Villa pops up on the wing, whips in a ball, it takes a bounce, and Pedro is right there to tap it in. 2-0, a goal made of persistence. A goal that whispered to Madrid, no matter what you do, we'll always be one step ahead. But you already know that. Guardiola, with the hair he had left, was literally jumping for joy. Meanwhile, Mourinho, he had already abandoned his sacred notebook and was slowly beginning to accept his fate. The Barca recital continued, and Real Madrid were just losing passes left and right, and hey, when desperation hits, sometimes you just gotta try anything. That's why Carvalho decided to go for a goal on his own net, because 2-0 lead is the worst lead. Minute 30, Cristiano loses his cool, Guardiola grabs the ball for a throw-in, and the Portuguese star shoves him. The first round kicks off. Luckily, Pepe the peacekeeper stepped in to defuse the fight. The bad news? The peacekeeper got his first yellow card. Just minutes later, Cristiano demanded a penalty, but in those days, there was no VAR. Only the refs mortalized decided your fate, not the amazing, all-knowing, error-free gift that is the VAR.
Check complete, it's fine. Perfect.
Yeah. Off.
Thank you, mate.
Wait. Good process.
On-field decision.
The first half wrapped up with Cristiano trying to go full epic hero mode, and then another hit. And if you thought that was the worst of it, nope. The second half was a tribute to football sadism. Messi, who hadn't scored but had been everywhere, decided it was time to start handing out gifts. Minute 54, a laser-guided pass into space, Villa breaks the line, goes 1v1 with Casillas, and slots it home like it's no big deal. Goal 3-0. Madrid couldn't hold on anymore, not tactically, not physically, not mentally. Casillas, more bored than after Ronaldinho's legendary double, he started protesting and, of course, got himself a yellow. But don't worry, 3-0 lead is the worst lead. 3 minutes later, the same story. Messi once again finds Villa, who this time finishes with a crossbody shot. Goal 4-0. At that point, all Madrid could do was breathe. Florentino, more worried than a Chinese toy seller in the US, could only hope for a miracle to change something, because, 4-0 lead is the worst lead. On the Madrid bench, the silence was deafening. The next few minutes were more of the same, total Barcelona possession, a backheel here, a nutmeg there, more yellow cards, and Madrid completely lost. Not even Ronaldo could find himself. He just smiled in despair. Guardiola made his final changes in the 87th minute, and to Real Madrid's relief, Xavi came off, but coming on was Jeffren. Minute 90, Camp Nou was a party, a football rave, with no lights, but with a curfew for Madrid. And then, Jeffren arrived. A homegrown kid not meant to be a star, but he had a mission: hammer the final nail in the coffin. Cross from the right, Jeffren comes in alone and strikes it with his soul. 5th goal. After that, Jeffren would go to clubs no one can pronounce and eventually retired. But hey, he fulfilled his mission that day. But like any Greek tragedy, the end had to include an emotional collapse. And if someone knows about those, it's Sergio Ramos. Ramos lost his head, lost his mind, and went in with a late kick on Messi. Then shoved Puyol, then Xavi, then anyone wearing a Barca shirt. He got sent off, yes, but not before trying to take on half of the locker room for another round. The ref blew the final whistle. Camp Nou was an all-out party. On the scoreboard, 5-0. In the air, history. In the standings, Barca were the top, but that didn't matter. The international press was burning over such a historic humiliation, especially with how Piqué, at the end of the match, rubbed it in with the 5-finger gesture.
Inadmisible lo que han hecho Puyol y Piqué. Y solo voy a decir una cosa, han cometido un error, porque los madridistas estamos dolidos, pero han despertado a la fiera.
Well, maybe he was right, because in the years that followed, Real Madrid would become the undisputed kings of the Champions League, with, well, some stumbles.